today is the day that I'm trying to quit smoking. And it's not I'm trying to quit smoking, it's like I'm saying farewell to that enemy. Um, and every time that urge to have a cigarette is the times that I wish I could say something and actually be heard. And it's like talking to a wall, so it's like I feel like I have a cigarette. It's like may as well be dead. It's like these words mean nothing. You may as well be dead. But I need to believe in myself and eventually speak so that you can see your own reflection in stuff. But I've been in these women's shelters, and as soon as I decided to believe in myself, these people that worked in these shelters were trying to get me not to believe in myself. Um, and that was a really really weird experience. But you go into a women's shelter and feel positive, be a positive being, and say that's okay, I'm going to handle this, and I'm just going to focus. And if you are focused on doing something positive while in a very negative experience, that you got to figure out the answers to everything. So you got to kind of have a mindset that you know what the hell you're doing to make the impossible happen. Because trust me, they want you only have like 30 days to get your shit together. You have no money, no way, absolutely nothing to set up a household and an income that you can sustain. And I mean, you can't solve the impossible in 30 days, but they expect you to come in there with your mind completely crushed from whatever experience got you there in the first place, and then you got to solve a miracle in 30 days and you're out of there. So I would presume that you need to be positive about yourself when you're going through there, because the whole world was trying to tell me don't believe in yourself, you're an idiot. And very much so, that's what was told to me in every women's shelter. um, and a lot of people don't see that. The way they talk, they think that that is a positive. um, but I have never seen anybody come in there positive, so it's not like it's a normal thing for them to see. I look definitely different than anybody else that went into these women's shelters. And most of the time they wanted me to stay away from anybody that came into these women's shelters, because I'm hypersensitive, and when they come in and I can see, I'd rather help them out because it makes me feel more positive about myself. I end up learning more about myself when I'm helping somebody else out. I think it's a positive thing to do. That if you get a bunch of women together, you talk about your experience, but then lead it towards, okay, what do we do about this? How do we handle these problems? But that kind of conversation was always discouraged in women's shelters. And one case in particular, I hope maybe this will ring at some of your heartstrings, but there was this young girl that came in, and you could tell she has lost her mind. Some kind of severe torture happened to this girl. Like, I mean, you could tell the nervousness, the shaking. I mean, I think you have lost your friggin' mind if you can't tell this woman has just experienced torture. And she was funny, which that is a sign of nervousness. Is you're really really funny. One joke comes after another joke, and it's like you could tell the difference between that's really really funny, but you got a nervous negative energy going on there. You're trying to avoid something big time. And these women shelter people kept her secluded from all of the rest of the group, me especially. And they had her secluded in a room going through all legal shit. They were like, she's got to know her rights. She's got to know her rights right now. And it's like, you can see through window doors that her negative energy, her crashing mode was like escalating. She's like, can't hear a word anybody is saying, and just the frustration of all of these people, professionals, saying they know the difference between right and wrong, are coming at her from all directions. And it's like, I'm looking at this girl saying, does anybody know she can't hear a word anybody's saying? Like, nothing is functioning for her right now. And they're trying to make her, so they were like fucking that girl up so bad. And they had other police and other counselors had cell phones that she was only supposed to talk to certain people. It was something, the name is like, this was worse than Ted Bundy. Um, there was some case that was like lots of people were killed by this crime that had taken place. And she said that she was equivalent to that. And that this was going to make major news everywhere, that this was the worst possible thing we've ever heard of happening in Canada. And she had bodyguards around her. She was not. Anyways, I knew that the system was playing her. Um, I could see that they were torturing her more than, and here she was clearly a victim of something, but they were manipulating the friggin' hell out of her. They were trying to program her brain to be what they needed to be. And did you hear anything in the news in the last 10 years, less than 10 years? It had to have been within the last 5 years. I have yet to hear any story that was the worst thing possible. So it was a very hush hush up story. When you see that happening once, you know that this is happening all the time. There's a women's shelter in every friggin' town as severe as this. I ended up getting somewhat close to her. I hope I helped her out. But these are the kind of things that I think need changing. Is she needed time to feel some love. She needed some time to relax. She needed some calmness, because she was in high tense fight flight, that nothing in the world would have made any sense to her at all. So she needed at that point as much love and compassion and understanding and calmness. And not one person wanted to do that for her. So I didn't have very much money, and my kids were suffering like hell. And I had a daughter but it's like, I know that my experience is better when I help somebody else out. So it's not like I'm saying that here I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm saying try this out for yourself. You'll feel a lot better. But I think I spent $100 on getting her some bath bubbles and some cream and some candles. And she hadn't seen her kids in years, a couple of years, and so we got them something for her to constantly remember her kids and have a present for them. Um, I tried to get her to focus on things that she wanted in the direction of her life, and to try and focus on that and the love in that, and that nothing else was important until she could find herself first, and to build her own personal strength up there. And beyond that, um, I doubt very much that she could hear anything that I had to say. We talked, we went in my car. That's where I stood most of the time that I was in this women's shelter, is I lived in my car most of the time. So we drove for hours and hours and hours, and she just vented and vented. And we listened to positive listing music, that we are women, we are strong, and we can overcome. And um, some songs that touch her heart, that just, she needed to feel as much heart as possible, where these women's shelters were not giving her that. And I'm like, it was only a few days, and then she was scooped up and by her bodyguards, and poof, she was gone. And I kind of knew that that was going to be the story. But for me, she's a story that I'll never forget, that I seen what was being done to her, and that needs to stop. Nobody stopped what was going on. Nobody even knows what was going on. But she was tortured. She couldn't even go into a bathroom anymore. For her to have a bath was a traumatic experience. I think she was chained to a bathroom and she could never be in a bathroom with the door shut. So she had fears that needed to be calmed down big time, and nobody in these women's shelters, the police, nobody could see any compassionate in what she was doing. They were all going to manipulate her to do whatever it is, and she would have been disappointed. So there's that is the biggest trauma. Is it's what drives me to smoke. Is it's not so much the criminal doing the criminal act, it's the people that say that they were there to help and find out that they did everything to lower you instead of build you up. Similar to these Dragons Den. You know, if they were, what Canada needs is for its citizens to be built up. This was an example of the Dragons Den building people down. The intentions, every one of those intentions have built me up. I know without a doubt it works, because this abuse did not kill me. And it still has allowed me to constantly be passionate about an idea that you will never see the benefits in it because it actually solves problems while you earn your living off of problems. You need to make sure a problem exists so you can profit at all times. So, do I say the Dragon's Den perpetuate child abuse? If you are not doing anything to stop it, you are on the side of perpetuating it. If you fund anything that is perpetuating a problem, then you are still an aspect of the problem. So there, you got to pick a side. Either you are on the solution of child abuse, or you are on the problem of child abuse. And each one of these people are the corporate structure. There's how many have dealings with franchises? You know, that is one greedy person wants to be the owner of every small business globally. That's taking away how many other people's opportunity to be the business owner themselves and have all of the money for themselves. So then they try and convince other people that franchising is a good idea, that it'll make you lots of money. But if you play that game out, if you have a community that 100 people need jobs, but you take all of their jobs, all of their business owning management type jobs out of the community, and let only 2 franchises come in and do all of the work for you, then you put everybody out of work. So nobody can even buy your product at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter how genius you are, but if you make the global economy can't even afford your product because you put everybody out of work because you are the pyramid scheme, that is what a franchise is all about. So love Boston Pizza, but now that I know through my experience how much the corporate structure actually harms society, I can talk about it now. I can point the finger and say what you're doing is more harmful. And you could see that pattern play out because the guy that owned Boston Pizza was really negative towards me because I was a single mother that needed child support. So he definitely had some negative words about the child support he had to pay, like as if that was the worst thing in hell that he had to ever experience, was being financially responsible for his children. I'm sure his children are very loving about hearing their father put on national TV that, hey dad, I'm really glad you enjoyed and love the feeling of feeding me every day. No, this guy hated the idea of feeding his kids every day, judging by the words of how he perceived me, that I was a woman that was in need of child support. Again, these were all people that said, we know your mind does not believe in yourself, but now we're going to give you even more reasons not to believe in yourself. But now get yourself off a welfare system, or else agree to go to work and pay me every month. This is a welfare. There's corporate welfare. Corporate welfare is 2 ends. They want it from the top and they force it out the end. because they're so freaking greedy they don't share. This is not something that they would profit off of financially. They would profit off of heart. They would know that they're improving the love in their own community, love in their own family if they supported something like this. And if the conversations are positive about Canada, then Canada would support the end of abuse in Canada and just learn more about the idea instead of just a few short sentences. Peace out.